We were so, so proud.
And so how were the Palmetto princes selected? Not the princess, but the plural. How were the Palmetto princes selected?
The contestants went out in their community and found a young man of their choosing that they would like to mentor and be part of this program.
Right.
And so they brought them to us, and then we did what we could to empower them the week they were here in competition. So
that's tremendous, yes.
We were real happy with the results.
Oh, yeah. Seeing some of those young men on stage, even helping in some of the performances, you tied them into State Fair.
Oh, yeah.
And you were the producer of that entire event.
I did.
Joey. Wow. You had some help, though.
Oh, I had we have a tremendous production staff that comes in, that gives up their time. We have 3 or 4 meetings throughout the course of the year, and then they come in for a 2-week period and actually put together my ideas and thoughts and make it all happen. So, yeah, tremendous staff.
Miss South Carolina organization, to a great degree, is run by volunteers.
Oh, over 300.
Is that
300 volunteers, yes.
Throughout the state. That is tremendous. Well, it sure shows. For you who may need to get off to work now or get family out of the house, is there a good phone number or a website that someone could call to learn more about the Miss South Carolina organization?
The office number is 864-843-9090.
Okay.
And we're there 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday.
Okay.
And also they can visit our website, which is www.misssouthcarolina.com.
And it's got tremendous information on there and links to Miss America and lots of great facts about the history. 72 years in South Carolina. That's not much younger than the entire Miss America organization.
No, I think Miss America's 87 years old, and we're 72 years old.
15 years, wow.
Well, that's why we laugh when people say the new reality television. We're saying, Miss America's the original reality show, and it's 87 years old. So there's not much new about reality television.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. Well, surely, I hope a lot of that was filmed here 10 days ago during the course of that week, because much of it, and not necessarily behind the scenes, but in front of, albeit behind, would be fascinating, and I'm sure is, but just up on the stage, the performance and the young ladies, all the contestants, ages 13 to 24. Is that right? 13 to 24, and the teens, 13 through 17, and then 18 through 24. Is that correct? 17 through 24. It's amazing to think about. Well, time is flying. I hate to say we've got less than 10 minutes, and I know your mom had a fascinating story. It has a lot of stories, but one of them in particular that stood out, I think she shared when you must have been 3. Is that right? An early one back in 1967?
With Nancy Moore, who eventually became Strom Thurmond's wife.
Right.
The great senator from South Carolina. So.
Yes, yes. Do you remember that? Gail, please share with viewers that story.
Oh, my goodness. There are so many Miss South Carolina stories.
And if not that one, if you've got a better one.
I'm always saying I need to write a book because there are so many interesting Miss South Carolina stories. When Nancy Moore competed in the Miss South Carolina pageant, Joey, I believe, was 3 years old. And one day at lunch, Nancy said, Joey, I'm going to be Miss South Carolina, to a 3-year-old.
To a 3-year-old, yeah.
Yes. And he said, you're going to be a Miss South Carolina with really ugly legs. Well, she never let him forget that she was Miss South Carolina, and in his eyes with really ugly legs. But
whenever I see her, she always says, Joey, how do my legs look?
Yeah. And how do they look now?
Oh, she's very attractive. She's a beautiful lady. Beautiful lady.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. She was a beautiful lady then.
Then and now, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's amazing the impact that you all can have, and clearly the impact on you at age 3 and mature and continuing to mature through the program. So there have been some men, aside from your husband, who got a little teary-eyed last week when he was with us on last Monday, when he was with us thinking about the impact that the organization has made on him. It was fascinating to see towards the end of it as he highlighted much of the experiences that he's learned over almost 50 years. Not only, of course, falling in love with the Miss South Carolina pageant, but falling in love with your mother 90 days later, or marrying your mother 90 days later, and the excitement of their careers having...
And it's one of the unique things I think that's really interesting about the pageant is we're the only family across the country that have stayed and volunteered and been with the program as long as our family has been. If you count Miss Gail's time, my father's time, you're looking at over 100 years of volunteer service to an organization.
Wow.
Which is a lot. I mean, it's a lot of hours.
That is.
And years of service. So we're awfully happy about that.
That is. What do you all see over the
next...
Even
if we've never gotten to celebrate the 4th of July as a family at a picnic. So we every year celebrate with the whole Pageant family.
Absolutely. Seeing the Pageant family, all the volunteers, the donors, your great sponsors, the judges who are here away from their families oftentimes to be here. It is a big deal. It's a big undertaking, as you highlight. And it was amazing to see the level of seriousness on a lot of the folks' faces, not just the families, the immediate families and the contestants, but everyone involved. High levels of objectivity out of the judges. We'll have Kathy and Dr. Johnson with us tomorrow, but even Jack and Judge Lee, Judge Allison Renee Lee, a circuit court judge from Columbia, giving up 10 days of her time, and Jack in from Oklahoma, Texas.
Which I believe is the hardest thing for people to understand, the seriousness that judges place in this competition. Because it is changing a life for the rest of their life.
And for all 92 of the women.
Absolutely.
For all
and
92.
That is a serious, awesome responsibility.
Right. We've got to ask for viewers in our area, in our viewing area, in the PD, and of course southeastern North Carolina. There's parts of those folks who need to get active with the Miss North Carolina organization and learn more about how they could set up pageants in their communities. But let's say our viewers in Marlborough County, or our viewers in Marion County or Dillon County who may not have pageants, how easy would it be for our viewers in Conway or down in Pawleys Island to start up a pageant in their community? What are some of the basic steps that they need to go through?
Well, the first thing they would do is contact the office.
Okay.
And say, I have an interest in having a pageant in my community.
Right.
And what we have in this state, Greg, are field directors who are part of the organization that are out in the field that deal with local pageants on a local level.
Right.
And they'll, of course, come into their communities. They'll sit down with them. They'll tell them all about the Miss South Carolina organization, how you become a local pageant, all the things interested, all the things that you need to do.
Right.
And they get them signed up. And then, the Miss South Carolina organization talks to them, has a local executive directors meeting, and tells them what's expected of them, what's expected of us. So it's a really easy process.
Great.
You just have the interest and, have a community in which you want to bring the Miss South Carolina organization to.
How many basic volunteers would someone need to amass for, let's say, a viewer in Conway who's watching right now, or a viewer in Bennettsville who's watching right now? How many folks are they going to need to have?
You can have as few as 5.
Really?
If they're hardworking individuals. And you can have as many as 50, 100. It just depends on what works for you as an organization. I've seen groups with 5 active volunteers that do a wonderful job, and I've seen locals with 50, 60, 100 volunteers that do a wonderful job. So the gamut is in the field is wide open to whatever works for you in your community.
That's tremendous.
And I can assure you, Greg, anybody that gets involved on the local level will find nothing more rewarding than mentoring the young women of this day.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the greatest reward they will ever have.
I can see it in the eyes of some of the volunteers that are up here, some of the, of course, as judges when I was up here, I couldn't interface with any of the contestants or any of the local area directors, the executive directors, but it's fascinating just to see their momentum and the excitement at some of the events as we went to where the contestants and their families were there and the judges were kind of sequestered clearly, but to see the involvement level is amazing. And their excitement of seeing these young women progress.
And I thought you may remember back to the opening of the pageant season, like how excited they were, waving their banners and signs and hollering contestants' names from the audience. I mean, I think that lends itself to what we've tried to always have a family environment within the Miss South Carolina organization.
Just on Thursday and Friday, the city manager here, Mark Scott, and the mayor, Bill Barnett, were with us here in the auditorium talking about the amazing aspects for them seeing these gigantic crowds turn out for even the early preliminary events.
Well, we wish it was gigantic crowds. That's one of the great tragedies, Greg, that these women compete, put their heart and soul in the state. Last year did over 144,000 hours of service to our state, and the crowds don't turn out for them.
Well, there were some great crowds a couple of weeks ago, but I'm sure that's right. There could be more people, and that's another great thing for viewers. Even if their community doesn't have a pageant, they can come up here. They need to be up here next summer, and even think about spending their July 4th up in Spartanburg. Thank you all so much. I'm sorry we've run out of time. Joey, you and your mother, Gail, you all are amazing.
We enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Sure hope to get you down to Myrtle Beach sometime and get you on Carolina People in our neck of the woods.
We will never miss an excuse to go.
We love it. We love it. Stay tuned. Do a little more with Joey and his mother, Gail Sanders, coming up next. And we're going to start this morning off highlighting first. Since we're with two of the members of the first family of the Miss South Carolina organization, we need to kick it off right. Be the first person in the house to pick up a pen and write down this simple phone number and website, 864-843-9090, 864-843-9090, or MissSouthCarolina.com. Be the first in your community. If your community doesn't have a pageant, be the first there to pick up the phone or visit the website, send them an email, and let them know you want a local, an area director to come in and visit your community and think about kicking off a pageant, whether it's in Bennettsville or in Mullins or Marion or Conway or Pawleys Island, in communities throughout the state. There's a lot of places. You heard Gail talking about empowering young women to build themselves both personally, professionally, and in so many other ways scholastically. We think there's a lot of things in South Carolina that we may not be proud of. First in domestic violence, first or second in being at the bottom on schools. But this is an opportunity where first really stand out, first in the country to pass many millions. We're now at $9 million in scholarships provided by the Miss South Carolina organization in both cash and in kind, 139,000 plus in cash dollars this year provided to contestants and winners throughout the Miss South Carolina pageant. Of course, the real excitement on the local level, $370,000 plus in cash and in-kind sponsorships, or dollars provided to these pageant contestants. Think about that. Let's be first in something in South Carolina. You can be the first in your house. Pick up the phone, give them a call, 864-843-9090. Gail, Joey Sanders, thanks so much for everything you're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah.